Welcome to Friday Office Hours. My name is Sam Stewart. I'm a project manager here at the Data and Research Center. Today's Friday Office Hours is going to focus on highlighting the All of Us and AnVIL imputation service. I do have a few quick announcements, and then I'm going to introduce our speakers for today, and then I'll pass it over to them. So there is a new funding opportunity we've been highlighting the last few weeks from the Healthy Americans Foundation. They're seeking up to 20 scholars that are using the All of Us data set, studying chronic disease in the researcher workbench. So applicants could possibly receive up to $10,000 in support of their research project. The application deadline is coming up on November the 3rd. You must have the application completed by 11:59 p.m. Eastern Time. You can scan the QR code to learn more about the requirements for the application, and there's a point of contact if you have questions. There's also another funding opportunity available. So the University of Arizona Banner Health has a Data Fellows program. It's a 9-month training program using the All of Us Researcher Workbench, and they're accepting 24 fellows. Last year they had a smaller cohort. This year it's a little bit bigger. So the submission deadline for this program is on November 21st, and then they will announce who's been awarded a fellowship on December the 12th. You do get a $2,000 stipend, and the award period is for 9 months. So it will start in January and go all the way through August. If you have questions about the Data Fellows program, you can email Jennifer Smith. Her information is there on the screen. You can also scan the QR code for the full application. And then today's presentation is focused again on the All of Us and AnVIL imputation server, which we're really excited to announce that is in its beta launch period. And so I just wanted to give you guys the opportunity to scan the QR code to go to the site while the presenters are presenting today. They're going to be talking more about the imputation service, how it was generated, and ways you can use non-All of Us data sets to kind of get better accuracy with your phenotypic associations. So if you want to scan your QR code to follow along with them, you can, and to learn more. And with that, I'm going to actually introduce our speakers, which we're very excited to have. So first, I'm going to introduce Kylie DiGaetano. She's a product manager at the scientific services at the Broad Institute, including the imputation service that they're going over today. She's been at the Broad for 12 years, specializing in sequencing and software for genomic data processing at large scale. And so we're very excited to have her. Next, we're going to introduce Jose Soto, who's an engineer on the imputation service team at the Broad Institute. He's been with them for 3 years at the Broad and has collaborated on a variety of projects and groups and helped contribute to the development of those products. And then last but not least, and we're really excited to see Mary. So Mary also helps with the Data and Research Center and is the program manager at the All of Us Genomes Center, which is a great collaboration between the DRC and the GC Center. And they help, again, with this imputation service. And Mary also helps with other parts of generating the genomic data set at All of Us. So they are a wealth of knowledge and expertise, and I'm really excited that you get to spend some time with them. So I will pass it over to them for the presentation.
Thank you, Sam. Nice to meet you, everybody. Happy to be here. I'm going to get my slides up. And we are happy to take questions as we're going. If it's a question that I think has a longer answer, maybe we'll punt it to the end. But please feel free to speak up or raise your hand. Hopefully I'll see that if I'm in slideshow mode. All right, here we go. Great. So I'm happy to be here today to talk to you about the All of Us and AnVIL imputation service. I also have the same link down here that Sam just shared if you want to go and check it out. And I am happy to be representing the data sciences platform at the Broad Institute. I'm actually new to working on this product, only being back from maternity leave for the last month. And so this is my first time presenting about it. I'm very excited to get to talk to you all about it. Thankfully, Jose is here and has been working on it from the start. So I'm going to start talking about what is probably obvious to a lot of you, which is that there's in sequencing and genotyping arrays and choosing which product you're going to use for your analysis, there are trade-offs between depth and sample size. So if you are using arrays or low-pass whole genomes, they're cost-effective and you can increase your sample size and statistical power, but you'll have less information per sample. And in All of Us, obviously we have whole genome sequencing and arrays. And outside of that, folks choose different things based on the analysis that they need to do. And so if you have a lot of arrays and you want to be able to uh, increase the quality of your analysis and what you can understand from your data, you can do imputation to fill in the missing data. And so the imputation gives you the opportunity to increase the number of variants in your population study at reduced cost compared to sequencing the whole genome from the start. And that relies on the reference panel that is used for the imputation. So you'll have a better quality imputation result if you have a larger, high quality and diverse reference panel. With a large and diverse reference panel, you can improve your results in your downstream analysis. So if you are looking to do GWAS or generate a polygenic risk score, a larger reference panel will help increase the number of variants that are tested, especially in rare variants. And for population studies that incorporate a more diverse genetic ancestries, you can reveal new genes and pathways in disease that would help hopefully improve health disparities in clinical care. And that's driven us to try to build this imputation service, which we have in beta, as Sam said. We spent a large amount of time building the largest, most diverse reference panel in the world. And so this chart is showing a comparison of the number of samples in the reference panel that we're offering in the AOU AnVIL imputation service compared to other widely used reference panels. In All of Us and AnVIL, we have about 414,000 samples from the last All of Us release, and 100,000-ish samples from the AnVIL CCDG reference panel that were brought together to have over 515,000 samples in the reference panel, and over 250,000 of those are from non-European inferred genetic ancestries. So the second green bar here is just the ones that are non-European descent from inferred genetic ancestry, compared to even that is larger than some of the next largest reference panels that are commonly used for imputation. And so once we had that reference panel in hand, we set out to build a service that would allow users to leverage the resource without giving direct access. And the reason for that is because the All of Us data, as I'm sure many of you are familiar with on this call, has to stay within the All of Us researcher workbench and is has under tight security. We wanted to make the insights that someone could gain from that data available to anybody without actually making the data available to everybody. And this is just a little bit more information about the breakdown of the reference panel that we're using. It has, as I said, the All of Us data and the AnVIL data together. You can see the breakdown of European, African, Americas, East Asian, different genetic ancestries in this combined data set. And I just want to emphasize here that the data set is built on the All of Us data. And so, as Sam mentioned, when you are using the imputation service, you wouldn't impute All of Us data with the All of Us reference panel because it's already in the reference panel, so it would be biased. And additionally, the data can't leave the security boundary, so it wouldn't be able to be used with the imputation service. This is for other array data that you might be using in your research. At this point, I'm going to hand off to Jose to talk about how we generated the reference panel. And Jose, I expected this slide to have more words on it. Is it an animation that appears as I
I
click?
guess it is. I didn't make
Okay,
the slide, but yeah, Franya loves animation, so yeah, I
okay,
think it's
great.
animated. I also expected more text. Hi, yeah. So I'm gonna give a quick overview of kind of how the reference panel was generated, and then how we decided to validate it. And it'll be high level, so we're not going to go too deep into all these because it would be a little too much. So yeah, the first thing was cohort QC. So again, as Kylie mentioned, part of our reference panel comes from All of Us, and part of our reference panel comes from AnVIL. So we had like separate QC for each of those data sets. And the first couple of steps were all done using Hail. So we cohort QC and slightly different QC because they have different sequencing backgrounds and probably different batch effects. So different QC for each of those, and then we merged them also using Hail. And that created a VDS that had both data sets combined. Then we did another round of joint QC. So now we have all the data together. We wanted to remove any low performing variants. Happy to talk about what criteria we use for these things, probably after, because it's kind of a detailed and don't want to do it during the presentation, but happy to answer any questions people have. And then now we have a VDS that's been QC'd. So now we export it to VCF because the tools that we use to generate the reference panel, in this case Beagle, needs a VCF format. So again, using Hail, so you can see like the first 4 steps we're all using Hail. And now we wanted to phase the combined QC VCF. This was done using Beagle. Beagle is the same tool we use to do the actual imputation in our pipeline. So it was used to do the phasing of the combined VCF. And then after we phase, we decided to do shuffling. There's this tool called Reshape. I'm happy to give links after this. If people are curious. And this was done to shuffle haplotypes for the data. And the reason we wanted to do this is privacy and security. Basically, it makes it so nobody is able to use our imputation service and generate one complete sample's worth of information because that sample no longer exists in our data set because we shuffled haplotypes across all the samples across the whole genome. So this was a very important step to make sure we felt like secure in that aspect because there are other imputation services that were, it was discovered that this problem existed. So we resolved that by using this. And then validation, which I will talk about in the next few slides. And then deployment, as Sam said at the beginning, we have a beta release. So we can talk about that. So once we talk about validation, I'll show a demo of the portal that we use to submit to our service. So yeah, so this is kind of all the steps involved with Generate Reference Panel. Bit of a slog is, 500 plus thousand samples is a lot to do all these things too, but it was fun, exciting. And exciting. So how did we validate this? So we chose 48 Coriell samples for our validation. It was a little bit tricky to choose validation samples because we needed samples that were not in our reference panel, samples that were not in TopMed's reference panel, and that were publicly available in the sense of we could submit them to the TopMed reference panel or the TopMed service, sorry. So that's why it's kind of we would like to have a bigger number, but it was kind of hard to find that, Venn diagram of samples that would be of work in that context. But this is a breakdown of the 48 samples. So we had, a good number of ancestries, with most of them having a good number of samples for each. And basically, so we submitted the 48 samples to our service. We submitted the 48 samples to TopMed service and kind of did a correlation comparison. And that you'll see on these slides. So this, the x-axis is allele frequency. To the left will be the rare variants, right, more common. And then the y-axis is just mean r squared to see how good was our imputation compared to the truth. And so we imputed GDA arrays, and our truth here is the 30x genome for the same sample. And so you can see here, we are the red line, TopMed is like the blue line. And the interesting here is for most ancestries, we are doing better than TopMed. You will notice if you have keen eyes, and it's also the first box, for the African ancestry, TopMed actually does better than we do. Now, while we would like to do better in all ancestries, our panel is basically an American panel. So that's why we kind of bifurcated African and African American. The TopMed panel does have more subpopulations of African samples in their reference panel, which is why they do better than us on like African ancestry that is not African American. So it's well, again, while we like to do better, it makes sense why they do better for those, and it's good that it correlates with what our expectations would have been given the breakdown of our different ancestries of our reference panels. So, and then again, we do much better at rare variants, and that is because we have more data. And so it's good that this all lines up with our expectations of what we expect of our ref panel. And I think, is there one more slide? Yeah. And so, and Kylie had an earlier slide of like, this is what our expectations of a large diverse panel, and users who have used our service have kind of corroborated that they've done analysis after running through our service to say, hey, yeah, we actually do see more high confidence rare variants, and also higher confidence across ancestry. So our validation said that we should do better, and our users also are seeing better things. So there's a question here. Can I clarify the exact difference? So a lot of them are like sub-Saharan African ancestries. If you want like an exact breakdown, I can definitely give that to you. I just don't have it on top of my head. There are like specific sub-African ancestries that our reference panel does not have good representation of, where TopMeds does. I'm happy to give you that list afterwards. I just don't know off the top of my head. Yeah, we can go on. Yeah, next. And so this is just a high level of how you kind of how a user would interact with a service. So there's quota, which I can talk about more during the demo. Basically, our servers perform some QC on inputs. Or sorry, the user gives us submits their inputs to our service, so it uploads them to where our service owns like our security boundary essentially. We perform QC on the inputs. We phase impute the samples against our panel, and then once it's done, hopefully successfully, we send the user an email and they're able to just download the results however they want. And currently we have both a GUI portal that you can use to submit, which is what I will be demoing, and we also have a command line interface that is also available. I will not demo that because the portal is cooler, but if people have questions about the CLI, I'm happy to answer any, or if people really want to see it, I'm happy to show it as well. I think I'm gonna take over the screen now.
Yeah, I will stop.
So I will start. So this is the link that Sam had at the beginning of her slides and that I pasted in the chat. This is our marketing page. This leads you to the portal, but just pointing out like a lot of the stuff, some of the stuff that you saw on the slides already will be on this page. So like the breakdown of the reference and things like that. So it's just like information about why we have the service, what does it do, how you interact with stuff like that. But you come here, you can go here, and this will take you to the portal. The one thing you do need to use our service is a Terra account. I've already logged in, which is why I see this page. If you haven't logged in or you don't have a Terra account, you have a different page that'll allow you to sign up or sign in, depending on where you are. But this is the main page. This is like how do you submit a job to our service. So like this is a if we have right now we only have one pipeline. We're going to expand to have many more pipelines. But you can imagine you select your pipeline. It's a description of kind of what the pipeline does. And then it's like your kind of basic form stuff where you just say like, so we want a base name for like, what is the name of you want your outputs to have? And so we can say like ALU office hour demo. And we have a filter for what minimum imputation quality. In Beagle's case, the annotations is DR2. They want to for VCF. Default 0, we can do like 0.8. It has to be between 0 and 1. An optional description to be like a demo for the office hours. And then here, the most important part would be your actual input data. So here's like where you would want your multi-sample VCF. You can drag or click and drag, or you can just select. I'm gonna just select because I don't actually know where that other window is. And you can see before I submit, I'll just talk a little bit about the right side here. So here I mentioned quota in one of the slides. Quota is essentially like how much you're able to submit to our service. So everybody, I'm a developer, so I have a little more quota than most people get by default. By default, people will get 2,500 quota, which means you could submit 2,500 samples to our service for free. And so again, one sample is one quota. And here you'll notice that for this pipeline, even if you submit like let's say 10 samples or 100 samples, you will consume 500 of your quota, and that's just more of like a cost measure of like because the ref panel is so large, performing imputation on one sample kind of costs the same as performing imputation on 500 samples. So that's kind of why we have the 500 sample limit. But you can submit less than 500, you will just be charged 500. And here is the pipeline output. So you get a nice description of the outputs that you will get as part of the pipeline. So you get the imputed VCF, its index, and then some QC about the chunking that we did throughout the pipeline process, like how many variants were dropped and things of that nature. We're working on improving or adding more QC. But yeah, so that's all on this page. And then you can just submit. And my internet at home is terrible, so this is going to take longer than it really should for a small file. But this is just internet based. So if your internet's great, you don't have to worry about this. But yeah, so this is just uploading my data from my local machine to essentially the GCP bucket that backs our service, because that is where we launch our analysis from. Um, 30 seconds. I probably should have done this while I was talking about the stuff on the right. We can just have a nice calming quiet for 20 seconds. Or if anybody has any questions, feel free to ask. All right, almost done. And for larger files, this is one of the reasons we would recommend the CLI. You don't want to have your browser open for an hour or whatever it takes to upload a many gigabyte file, depending on your net. So upload successful. So here our job has been submitted. So we can track the status going to the job tab. So this link will take you there as well as it's the same as this tab here. And see, I submitted one earlier. So you can see like this is the one I just launched. This is the description in progress. And things will update. So I launched this one in July. So done, it'll tell me how much quota this submission cost. We only keep the outputs around for 14 days. So because I launched this in July 10th, obviously things have it's been deleted by then. When a workflow succeeds, you do get an email sent notifying you that the workflow is done, as well as giving you instructions on how to download both from the CLI and the portal, and then your like the expiration date of your data. So all that is explained. It's also here too. We put it lots of places because it's very important to know. As well as here, we have some nice user documentation. So, all right, my mouse just died, which is cool. So there's this kind of documentation portal also that we have around like the service, and you can see overview, how to create account, things of that nature. What I was looking for was service news. So if you want to see like updates on what the service, how the service has been updated over time, there's this nice page here with all different dates. I did that. But yeah, it's pretty simple. Like the reason, the main important thing about this portal and also Shell, just to make it as simple as possible. So really, it's just like fill out a couple of things, tell us what your input data is, run it. We'll do everything for you and tell you when it's done, and you can download the outputs at your leisure. Well, for 14 days. And that's it for the demo. I believe we have a couple more
Yeah, if you
slides.
could just show this last slide here, I can just highlight that this is the first of many pipelines that we hope to have in our services that we offer. Another that will use the AOU AnVIL reference panel is adding support for imputation of blended genome exomes and low pass whole genomes at about 1.5x using GLIMPs. So the imputation that we've been showing you thus far has been using Beagle with genotyping arrays. This would be an input data of imputing low pass whole genomes using the tool GLIMPs. And this plot is showing initial results comparing the imputation of genotyping arrays with Beagle versus low pass whole genomes with GLIMPs for the same samples broken down by ancestry. And you can see that if you have low pass whole genome data as your input, you do get even more confidence at rare variants. And so we're looking forward to adding support for that.
Okay, with that, we'll end our Friday office hours. Thank you all so much and see you next time.